Hello everyone, this is part 58 of What If Naruto Meets the Nine Tails Early, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. What? Karen suddenly stiffened while the team was near exiting Demon Island's cove. This chakra eye is Orochimaru. Everyone nearly jumped at this. He's back on the island, atop the debris. She's right. He's standing alongside Yakushi Kabuto, both of which are looking in this direction, said Hinata. He just seems to be watching us. Everyone be ready. Something big is bound to come our way, ordered Yamato. Just as Yamato said that, a massive ocean swell rose up in front of the boat, causing Yamato's wooden boat to nearly capsize and dump its precious cargo into the sea. As the boat slid back along the watery incline, everyone saw a massive blob of water rise up in front of them and block their path. Hee, you won't be going anywhere. Yumibozu will make sure of that, snickered a voice from behind the boat. Everyone turned around to see a man with a larger than normal head wearing a lab coat standing on the water behind them. You have all been quite the thorn, destroying my precious lab and research. That's him, Amaki, commented Sugetsu. He's the one in charge of this base. Glancing over at the boat, Amaki not only noticed his two former prisoners, Karen and Sugetsu, but also a certain purple-haired, unconscious girl. Though it seems that I am grateful you saved my prized test subject. Perhaps if you're lucky enough, I'll keep you alive long enough to be a part of one of my experiments. So you could dissect us like you were going to do with Isaribi. Shouted a furious Naruto. She's not some test subject. She's a person. Say what you want, but just look at her. She's stuck halfway between transformations and can never return back to a full human form. She's been like this ever since I first activated the Kaima genes in her, and even I haven't been able to find a way to fully reverse the transformation. Believe me when I say I'm doing her a favor in ending her life so that she doesn't have to live as a monster. Naruto's fist shook in rage at Amaki's statement. No, I know Bakunin will be able to do something to help her. Thought the blonde Jinchuriki. I don't give a crap what you say. I know that she can change back and I'll do whatever I need to make it so she can be human again. You call her a monster? Well, the only monsters I see here are you and that big water blob. Naruto was about to attack Amaki before he was stopped by Yamato. Naruto, we want to take Amaki alive. He could have valuable information on Orochimaru. Kiba and I will handle him while you, Zabuza, and Haku will take care of the ocean monster. Once they can, Sakura and Hinata will get the prisoners to safety and back towards the village. Fine, Kiba kick this bastard's A for me, said Naruto. Believe me, there will be more than enough a kicking to go around, assured Kiba as he, Akamaru, and Yamato prepared to fight the mad scientist. Meanwhile, Naruto lined up aside Zabuza and Haku as the monster completed its form, which still was nothing more than a big mass of water with a swirling and glowing orb in the place where you'd imagine its head. Hey, you think you will be able to take me? You don't understand, with Yumibozu, I control the seas. Exclaimed Amaki as he activated chakra scalpels in both hands. Let's go Akamaru, exclaimed Kiba. Man-beast clone. Akamaru transformed into a more feral version of Kiba and the two quickly charged Amaki. Gatsuga. Being a med-nin, Amaki was well adapted in the art of dodging, but even then found himself hard-pressed to avoid the two spiraling fangs drilling towards him at high speeds. Given the speeds at which Kiba and Akamaru were traveling at, he was unable to retaliate in time to tag either with his chakra scalpels. Even still, he wouldn't have had the time to do such as his legs were soon wrapped up in wooden bindings. Did you see that, Kabuto? Grinned Orochimaru with a lusting look on his face. It appears to be the Mokuton, replied Kabuto. So it does. Apparently, my experiments weren't a complete failure, Kukaku, chuckled Orochimaru. Do you plan on capturing him, Orochimaru-sama? Perhaps this would be an opportune time to claim the Mokuton bloodline for our own, suggested Kabuto. As much as I'd like that. I don't like rushing into battles unprepared, said Orochimaru. It is true that I could hold my own against almost all of them, but it's the QB brat that I'm concerned about the most. If rumors out of Iwa are true, Then he's been busy over the past few years with my former teammate. But just how strong do you suspect Naruto-kun could have gotten, Orochimaru-sama? During our little meeting in the forest, Naruto-kun tapped into the Kyuubi's chakra. I thought that him tapping into the beast's power was just a situational thing, the pressure of fighting myself forcing him to subconsciously tap into that power out of survival instinct. While disguised as Shibi, I witnessed him tap further into the beast's chakra to the point where he assumed a four-tailed state and his appearance became more Kyuubi-like. Again, I thought the beast was simply using the gravity of the situation and the despair in Naruto-kun's heart after seeing his own team supposedly to try and take hold. But I began to suspect something else once the chakra cloak reverted to a one-tailed state and he actually managed to use the chakra to stabilize Sasuke-kun enough to save him. If the beast was truly trying to take over, it wouldn't have tried to save Sasuke-kun and that pink-haired teammate of theirs, explained Orochimaru. But surely you don't think, gasped Kabuto. Even you witnessed it, in a zoo. He was in a four-tailed state and appeared able to control himself. I would have been willing to bet that with that much of the beast's chakra in his system, he surely would have given in to the bee and rage, destroying everyone in sight, but yet he didn't attack Jiraiya, said Orochimaru. And how else do you imagine he defeated Han of the Steam Armor, one of the three Jinchuriki known to have full control over their beast's chakra? So then, yes Kabuto, I believe Naruto-kun has become a true Jinchuriki and has full control over the Kyuubi's chakra, grinned Orochimaru. Well then, shouldn't we try to eliminate him before he can become too much of a threat? Cautioned Kabuto. I may be strong enough to maintain order in my organization, despite my current injury, but even I wouldn't be able to match the Kyuubi's power at this moment. Besides, Naruto-kun can still be of use to us, chuckled Orochimaru. I think I see. Akatsuki should be making their move soon, shouldn't they? Asked Kabuto. Yes, and if my assumptions are correct, I believe Naruto-kun will prove to be a handful for them, said Orochimaru. He will end up taking out quite a few of the Akatsuki, lessening the threat they pose to us. But you do plan on eliminating him, don't you? Asked Kabuto. Once he has served his purpose, Kabuto, I will kill him, said Orochimaru. But that will have to wait until I can change B to regain the full use of my arms. Only then will I stand a chance against the Kyuubi, and even then, I wouldn't enter that battle without a certain trump card which I currently do not possess. A sinister grin that only the devil's mother could love made residence on Orochimaru's face. Kukaku, yet. Naruto, Haku, and Zabuza quickly jumped to the side, avoiding a speeding ball of compressed water that s into the ocean they were standing on, splashing everyone around with a frothy spray of ocean water. Suten, water dragon jutsu, shouted Zabuza as a massive dragon rose out of the sea, turning its rage on the massive watery blob that was Yumibozu. However, just as the dragon wrapped itself around the water monster and prepared to bite down on its head, the dragon was quickly absorbed into Yumibozu, becoming a part of the sea monster itself. Water jutsus won't work on this bastard, swore Zabuza as he watched one of his most powerful jutsus become absorbed into the sea monster. Multiple spears of ice shot out of the water, surrounding the sea monster, impaling it in many places, but even Haku's attack proved ineffective as the water blob simply twisted and contorted itself out of the ice spears which had imprisoned it, no damage being taken as Yumibozu simply healed itself using the surrounding seas. I can't even damage it as it seems to heal itself using the seas around it, added Haku. Naruto even threw a few wind jutsus at the sea monster, all of which would have proven fatal to a normal opponent. Damn it. Hey Kurama, any thoughts on how to beat this thing? Asked Naruto. It looks to be nothing more than a mass of water, held together by a chakra core. So long as there's water, the chakra core will remain intact. Naruto was interrupted from his thoughts as a massive water arm swiped at its three opponents. Both Naruto and Haku were swift enough to dodge the attack, but Zabuza wasn't quite as fast as his two comrades, resulting in his capture by the monster. Zabuza-sama, shouted Haku as Zabuza was swallowed by the monster and then suspended in the water blob, being drowned as if he were captured in a water prison. Wanting to capture another prisoner, Yumibozu s his hand down upon Haku. But before the sea monster could capture its next victim, Haku disappeared into his ice mirror, another forming just above the head of Yumibozu. Haku emerged from this mirror and landed atop Yumibozu, his feet beginning to sink into the monster, but that was all he needed. Hyoten, Sub-Zero Entrapment. As Haku sent his ice chakra into Yumibozu, the massive water monster immediately began to freeze. Since it was already made of pure water, Haku's freezing proceeded with little resistance, quickly turning the sea monster into a massive iceberg. Naruto jumped up to around the area where Zabuza had been trapped and with a low-powered Rasengan, shaving through the ice enough to free a now shivering Zabuza. Damn Haku, do you have to be so cruel? Asked Zabuza. I'm sorry Zabuza-sama, but I could not allow that thing to drown you, replied Haku. Hey, now I know how the victims of my water prison jutsu feel, said Zabuza. Udama Rasengan, shouted Naruto as he sa large Rasengan, about the size of an inflatable beach ball, into the top of the frozen Yumibozu berg, shattering it into thousands of pieces. No, Yumibozu, shouted Amaki, who had his own hands full dealing with two raging Kibas while dodging a number of trees that kept popping up out of the middle of the water. We can't keep this up for much longer. I'm using up more chakra than usual with my wood-style jutsus trying to make them tall enough to reach the ocean's surface, thought Yamato. However, despite Amaki's constant dodging he's getting tired. You think you can defeat me? I'll show you and Orochimaru just how powerful the Kaima bloodline can be. Shouted Amaki before even he began to undergo a transformation into a Kaima. What the hell? Swore Kiba. So you've been experimenting on yourself as well, deduced Yamato. In this form, you won't be able to stand against me. These are the true Kaima genes, refined and altered to make them even stronger than the original. Bragged Amaki. Yeah, well let's see how you fare against me and Akamaru. Shouted Kiba. Gatsuga. Given the boost in speed he gained from the Kaima form, Amaki was simply able to sidestep Kiba before shooting a compressed water bullet towards Akamaru, breaking the human-formed canine from his spiraling attack. Akamaru, shouted Kiba as his partner recovered from the attack, although still slightly dazed. Covering for Kiba while Akamaru recovered, Yamato tried to restrain Amaki with his Mokuton, binding branches. However, Amaki's new form allowed him to use the sharpened fins on his forearms to S apart the incoming wooden bindings. Seeing this, Kiba realized that the normal attacks weren't going to work against. I think we're going to have to try that move out, said Kiba, getting a bark from Akamaru. I know fire is weak against water, but we're going to need something stronger to take this guy down. Kiba darted over towards Yamato. Yamato Teiko. Akamaru and I may have an attack that can take this guy out, said Kiba. I see. Do you think you can get him over towards the shore? Asked Yamato as he pointed towards the rocky shoreline of the island cove. Yeah, we'll knock him over there for you, grinned Kiba. You ready Akamaru? ARF. Barked Akamaru, confirming to Kiba he was ready. Akamaru then jumped on Kiba's back and the water around the two of them began to boil before the two of them were engulfed in a flare of flames. Kaiten, two-headed hellhound. As the initial burst of flames cleared, where Kiba and Akamaru once stood, now there was a single two-headed beast with flames rising off the very tips of the monstrous dog's fur. Hey, you think a mutt on fire can take me down? Mocked Amaki as he spat a compressed jet of water, trying to extinguish Kiba and Akamaru. The Inuzuka duo opened their mouths and retaliated with a jet of fire, colliding with the jet of water. Normally, the water would overpower the fire, but the combined heat of both Kiba and Akamaru was strong enough to evaporate the water jet, creating a massive cloud of steam that erupted between the two of them. Kaiten, hellhound fangs. From out of the cloud of steam, a fiery spiraling inferno came speeding out, straight towards Amaki. Confident in his Kaima form, Amaki stood his ground. To an extent, it worked, if you considered what Kiba's newest jutsu was intended to do. Kiba and Akamaru had developed their Hellhound transformation as a high-powered jutsu with the power to incinerate most opponents. They had combat-tested their attack against a group of lower-ranked missing nins during a recent tracking mission with Team 8. The results of the attack surprised even them as there wasn't much more than charred chunks of their opponent's F. Once his clan had heard about his and Akamaru's new jutsu, even they found themselves impressed at the power behind it. Despite the power of their attack, which was already slightly weakened by their watery environment, the flaming attack only managed to leave a few shallow sea and burns in Amaki's torso. However, the attack was strong enough to send Amaki flying back and into a nearby rock along the shore. As soon as Amaki hit the land, Yamato had finished his preparations and a large tree began to encase the mad scientist. Mokuton, tree bind eternal burial. The tree tightened its hold on Amaki, threatening to crush him into dirt, but the pressure halted. Unfortunately, you're still more valuable to us alive. Hey, you fool, smirked Amaki. Despite being on the brink of consciousness after taking a devastating attack from Kiba and nearly being crushed by a massive tree, Amaki could still muster enough energy. Without me, to control the beast, you can't stop it. Amaki then lost consciousness. Yamato stood there a moment to contemplate what it was that Amaki was referring to, but he had a feeling he would get his answer the moment the water began to spin and swirl, a massive whirlpool erupting in the spot where Naruto and Haku had taken down Yumibozu. To everyone's surprise, the watery blob that was Yumibozu reformed itself, taking on even more seawater than before. In a violent tantrum, Yumibozu struck out at the Konoha ninja. Still in their hellhound form, Kiba and Akamaru retaliated and launched a strong attack against the monster. All Yumibozu had to do was swat the fiery hound away with its hands to extinguish the hellish fires and cancel the jutsu. Being pure water, fire attacks weren't going to work, or would they? Naruto, while that thing is just chakra, it's infused into the water. If we're going to defeat it, we have to get rid of the water, spoke Kurama. Haku's ice only froze the water, but in this warm environment, the ice quickly melted, freeing the trapped chakra-infused water. We need to get rid of the water to free the chakra core. Once that's done, this sea monster will be as good as S. How do you expect to do that? Replied Naruto. Fire. It may seem redundant, but fire evaporates water. The only problem is that we need a fire big and strong enough to completely evaporate all of the water, explained Kurama. Foxfire should do the trick. What? You want me to go full Kyuubi mode now? With Orochi team watching, argued Naruto. The only thing you've got strong enough is your Kitsune's wrath, and even then the flames aren't widespread enough to engulf the entire monster. We need to take it out in a single blow all at the same time, said Kurama. And it's not like your friends are doing any better. Naruto looked on towards his comrades. Kiba and Akamaru didn't have the power to break through Yumibozu's defenses. Yamao's jutsus were proving ineffective at containing Yumibozu. Haku tried freezing it, but Yumibozu just broke out of the icy entrapment, and Zabuza's water attacks were simply absorbed into the beast. To make matter worse, Yumibozu had begun launching a series of compressed water bullets towards the ship containing Hinata, Sakura, and the prisoners. Hinata was doing her best with her Yusho, protection of the 8 trigrams, but like everyone else, she was starting to show signs of fatigue. Damn it. Wait, couldn't I just call on Chief Toad and use the Kaiten, Toad oil flame bullet? Kit, this is a salt water environment. If I remember correctly, toads are freshwater amphibians. Bunter's gonna KU if you summon him to a place like this. You just want to get out, don't you? Sighed Naruto. Hey, Numbnuts is out cold and besides, you promised, replied Kurama. But that about Orochi team. He doesn't know I can do a full Kyuubi transformation and I thought Ero-Sennin and Bar-chan wanted to keep it that way. Given the mess you caused with Iwa, I wouldn't be surprised if Orochimaru did know. They even put in their bingo book that you, most likely have exceptional control over my powers, said Kurama. HMPH, like they think you'd even be able to control my powers if it wasn't for me. Anyways, I say we remind the snake just who's on the top of the food chain. Foxes do not cower to snakes. Naruto just sweat dropped as Kurama continued to rant on. Are you really that bored? Yup, that and I also want to give Woody a good scare. Fine, surrendered Naruto. Outside Naruto's mind, Yumibozu took notice of the blonde who seemed to be in his own world as he pulled back behind his friends. While he was aware of his surroundings, Naruto appeared to have dazed off into his own thoughts, or the ramblings of a certain fox. Forming a giant water fist, Yumibozu s it down upon his blonde opponent. To everyone's shock, and a certain would use's horror, the fist was stopped by 9 reddish-orange fox-like tails. Is that? Gasped Kabuto. It appears as if I was correct, grinned Orochimaru. Holy crap, Akamaru, Kiba gasped to his canine partner. TTTT ha, gulped Yamato. No way, that's, said Sakura as she and Hinata were on the boat a decent distance away from where the battles, though still close enough to observe the battles and the giant fox which had just appeared on the battlefield. Naruto-kun, said Hinata. Kyuubi. Yep. Standing where Naruto was once standing, about to get S by a giant watery arm, was now the Kyuubi no Yoko. Yumibozu's arm had been completely off by the fox's tails the moment it was caught. This is bad, panicked Yamato. I need to do something to suppress the Kyuubi, huh? There's no need, spoke Haku. The Kyuubi's never been a problem, and has helped us more than once. In all honesty, I trust the Kyuubi as much as I trust Naruto-san. And besides, if you look at those eyes, they hold no hostility, towards us at least. Tsunade-sama mentioned that the Kyuubi was not a problem. I believe you just need to trust Naruto-san. A weary Yamato hesitated for a moment, but relaxed his guard slightly. The Kyuubi mode Naruto turned his full attention to the giant water blob. Once Naruto saw that no one was around, he took a deep breath and unleashed an inferno of golden white flames, engulfing the sea monster completely and rapidly boiling the water surrounding it and any water that Yumibozu could tap into to reform itself. By the time the flames down, the water where Yumibozu once stood continued to boil. Told you that would do it, bragged Kurama. Yeah, but that was kind of don't you think? Replied Naruto. And your point is, quote. Sensing the presence of a certain snake, Naruto turned his attention towards the island and began charging a rather large-tailed beast bomb. Orochimaru-sama, gulped Kabuto, seeing the dense orb of chakra being aimed at them. It appears as if it's time to leave. Let's go Kabuto, I've got work that needs to be done, hissed Orochimaru as the snake Sannin and his apprentice were engulfed by a flame that worked its way up their causing whatever it had already burned to simply disappear. The tailed beast bomb was fired towards the two and collided with the island, resulting in a massive explosion that leveled most of whatever remained on the island. Damn, they got away just before the tailed beast bomb hit, swore Naruto. Everyone looked up at the towering Kyuubi, wondering what was going to happen next. Yamato had his wood style at the ready just in case Naruto truly had lost it to the Kyuubi. To everyone's, and mostly Yamato's, relief, the figure of the Kyuubi began to recede until all that was left was Naruto. He looked over to see the stupefied looks on his comrades' faces and just grinned while rubbing the back of his head. Okay, so maybe that was a little too much. Naruto, Yamato said while making his creepy star no jutsu. It appears as if I will have to rule by fear. Gah! Shouted a freaked-out Naruto as he cowered back towards Haku and Zabuza. You can transform into a demonic fox, yet you're still scared of a silly face. Mocked Zabuza. You have no idea just how creepy that is. Shouted Naruto. The Konoha team and the villagers who had been rescued found little resistance, except for a rather large catfish that continuously taunted Akamaru. Needless to say, Wet Dog's scent did not make for a pleasant trip back to the port. Upon arriving, the entire village was ecstatic with the arrival of nearly 24 of their missing brethren. I thank you very much for what you have done for our village, bowed Takarama. You have no idea how grateful everyone is for your efforts. Please, it was our pleasure, said Yamato. Most of them are healthy, however there are a few who will be accompanying us back to our village to retrieve treatment due to being experimented on. I completely understand, replied Takarama. He looked over towards the unconscious Amaki. So he is the one responsible for my people's suffering. Yes, he was one of Orochimaru's subordinates and the one behind the K and experimentation, replied Yamato. He saw the vengeful look on Takarama's face. I can assure you, Takarama-san, that Amaki will be made to answer for his crimes. However, I must apologize that he will have to face it back at our village. He could possess valuable information pertaining to other activities of Orochimaru. It is a shame that my people will not be the ones to get their justice, but I can understand where you're coming from, said Takarama. Finishing his conversation with Takarama and the rest of the villagers, Yamato turned to his team. Right, looks like we're all done here. I've sent a report to the Hokage and we'll await her orders. I suspect she'll send an Anbu team to escort our prisoners. Yamato nodded towards Amaki, Karen, and Sugetsu. Hey, Nichan's not a prisoner, declared Naruto. I'm sorry Naruto, but she is to be considered a prisoner until the village can ensure she's not a threat, said Yamato. Naruto protested but was shut up. Do you remember that she accompanied Yakushi Kabuto to raid the vaults of Azuchiogakure for Orochimaru himself? Yeah, but she was being manipulated by the bastard, retorted Naruto. That does not matter. T and I will determine her fate. If she cooperates fully and is deemed not to be a threat to the village, she could slide by with a prohibition sentence. I suggest you don't do anything that would jeopardize her best case scenario, explained Zabuza, familiar with Konoha's Anbu workings. Believe me, I wouldn't wish T and I on most people. But if she cooperates, the worst she'll have to face is a mind walk by a Noiki, and that's actually harmless. I know you consider her your family, but just letting things play their course is the best you can do right now. Don't worry, brat, I believe your cousin there will get off easy. As for Sugetsu, well, let's just say if he makes another go for my sword, evil glints appeared in Zabuza's eyes as he glared at Sugetsu. I'll personally deliver his as a present to that S in T and I. S? Questioned Naruto. Yeah, the one with the huge and curvy figure, all tightly wrapped up in fishnets that look like they're about ready to just burst. And that wicked smile that sends shivers down your spine, yet turns you on at the same time. Oh yeah, she's definitely one S, replied Zabuza as he fantasized about a certain purple-haired kunoiki in the T and I department. Is he talking about Anko? Thought Naruto. Oh, so many possibilities, thought Kurama to himself. 2 days passed with the team from Konoha residing in the village until the Anbu team arrived. Sai had awoken the morning after his painful scolding, only to find that the pain radiating from his groin was still too intense and he was bedridden all day with an ice pack wrapped around his. Following Hinata's little outburst, the young Hyuga beauty couldn't help but turn red whenever she was spotted with Naruto by those who had witnessed it, and poor Naruto was stuck with Kurama's perverted taunts without any relief in sight. Sakura had attempted to awaken Isaribi from her induced slumber, but the moment she did that, the girl began to yell out in pain and the Kaima transformation advanced. The pink-haired medic proceeded to use an anesthesia seal she had learned during her training under her master to keep Isaribi sedated and to stave off the transformation until Tsunade could get a good look at what was going on. As for the villagers who had the Kaima genes introduced to them, Sakura was able to concoct enough serum to keep them from reverting back into the Kaima form so long as they took it at regular intervals. However, if she hoped to fully cure them, then she would need resources that were only available back in Konoha. The team from Konoha was now currently waiting at the gates to the small fishing village in the Land of Seas. Yamato had received word that the Anbu would be arriving shortly, and once they were there to escort the prisoners, namely Amaki, they would begin the 3-day journey back to Konoha. Out of the forest, 4 Anbu appeared, and the attention of Naruto and Sakura were immediately drawn towards the one with a dog mask and gravity-defying silver hair. The dog-masked Anbu simply tilted his head, as if he were an intrigued dog, before Naruto and Sakura simultaneously shouted. You're late, dog. Merely sweat dropped before waving to the two of them. He then proceeded to do something rarely done in Anbu and removed his mask, revealing to Naruto and Sakura another mask. However, this mask only covered the bottom portion of their Jonin-sensei's face. Well, if it isn't Naruto and Sakura. I see you two have grown, Kakashi smiled. The way they present themselves and even simply the very aura they give off. They've gotten stronger, a lot stronger. Sakura immediately realized something. Kakashi-sensei, where's Sasuke-kun? Yeah, where is team? I can't wait to kick his Tabayo, declared Naruto. HN came from an Anbu wearing a hawk mask. Still dreaming, I see, Dobe. Like Kakashi, Hawk removed his mask, revealing none other than a pair of red Sharingan eyes on a familiar face. Sasuke-kun, chirped Sakura. Sasuke's revealing didn't only catch the attention of Sakura, but also of a certain redhead. Who is that handsome guy? Ooh. Perhaps being escorted by him won't be too bad after all. To Karen's utter horror, Sakura was immediately upon Sasuke, planting a large K on the lips of her estranged love interest and surprising almost everyone, even slightly Sasuke. Since when did team get into Anbu? Asked Naruto, after giving Sasuke and Sakura just enough time to get reacquainted with one another. Well, eventually we both got tired of doing nothing but training and figured that some mission experience would do us better, spoke Kakashi. This is a special arrangement allowed by the Hokage herself to reinstate me into Anbu and to allow Sasuke to enter Anbu for the duration of a year. This is actually our last mission for the time being. Whether or not Sasuke continues as ANBU in the future is actually up to him, but once we return to the village, the 3 of you will be reforming good old Team 7 for a while. Team 7 reminisced Naruto. It really has been a while, hasn't it? Said Sakura. Scoffed Sasuke before he sighed. I will admit, missions in Anbu have typically been rather smooth and it has been a bit quiet without the Dobe to screw everything over. Oi, if you think I'm such a screw up, come over here and I'll show you just how much I can screw you up. Naruto and Sasuke were instantly into an intense staring contest. It hasn't even been 5 minutes and those two are already at each other's tea, sighed Kakashi. Thwack. Ow. Both Naruto and Sasuke were rubbing the bumps on their heads as Sakura stood behind them with her hands crossed and foot tapping. Will you two stop it? I will not be having the two of trying to K each other, again. Both Naruto and Sasuke managed a slight grin, or smirk in Sasuke's case. Konoha. And that is our report, Hokage-sama, explained Yamato as the 8 Konoha shinobi had just recently arrived from the land of seas. Tsunade had trouble containing herself after hearing of Orochimaru's endeavors and some of the research that had been conducted on innocent civilians. That's just like Orochimaru and his subordinates, going beyond that which could be even remotely considered human just to satisfy his sick fetishes, growled Tsunade. Shizune. Tsunade-sama, addressed Shizune. Get the girl Isaribi and the infected villages ready for treatment. Begin an analysis immediately. By the time I get there, I want to know just what this Kaima gene is and if it can be isolated. I'll be over myself shortly to begin searching for a cure, addressed Tsunade. Hi, Tsunade-sama, bowed Shizune as she quickly darted out the door, Tonton running closely behind. I've read your report on that serum, Sakura, and I must say I'm impressed you were able to make something that effective given the limited resources you had, not to mention the crunch on time, said Tsunade to her student. Your findings will certainly go a long way towards treating those villages. Thank you, Shosho, bowed Sakura. Amaki will certainly pay for his crimes against humanity, not to mention the work he's done for that traitor, said Tsunade. However, first I think Ibiki will enjoy some company. He has been rather bored lately. Tsunade motioned to one of the two remaining Anbu and they quickly took Amaki to Ibiki for some quality time with Konoha's foremost expert in the field of tea. Tsunade-Barkan, what will happen to Karen Nichan? Asked Naruto. Nichan, Tsunade said, raising her eyebrow. Well, not really Nichan. She's more like a second cousin but that still doesn't mean she's not family, explained Naruto. If she's cooperative and Inoiki's findings come up positive on her being more a prisoner than an accomplice, I'll push for her to be given a prohibition period and then we can work on incorporating into the village's ninja ranks. She appears to have a sensory ability that I think our village will benefit greatly from, said Tsunade. And it will give the Hyugas some campaign in the sensory department. The same will go for Hozuki Sugetsu, said Tsunade. He'd better keep those hands off my blade, said Zabuza. Tsunade sighed. Anyways, you're all dismissed. Kakashi, Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke please remain here for a moment. With that, everyone but the specified 4 left the Hokage's office. Now, as you're all aware, it's been nearly 3 years since arrangements were made to have the 3 of you trained privately. As per the original agreement, it is time for all of you to regroup as a team. As of now, Team Kakashi is officially reformed and will stay that way for the next 2 years. This will make it roughly 6 years since your team was originally formed. Kakashi, you're a Jonin and still in charge of the team. Sakura, Sasuke, Naruto, all 3 of you have been made Chunin and based on the feedback I've gotten from Jiraiya, Kakashi, and myself, I'd say that you're all Jonin level. While part of me is tempted to just promote the 3 of you, I do believe some more experience would do you all some good and you'll be eligible to take the Jonin exams in a year and a half. Still, I believe this team is more than capable of handling some difficult missions and as such, I'll be treating this as a team of Jonin instead a team of Chunin led by a Jonin commander. Any questions? You don't need to worry Barkan, Tabayo. Declared Naruto. A tick mark appeared on Tsunade's forehead due to Naruto using the B word. Anything to say, Kakashi? Asked Tsunade. Yes. While I have been working with Sasuke for some time, I am curious as to not only how strong both Naruto and Sakura are, but also how well the 3 of you work together, said Kakashi. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I think you know where. With that, Kakashi shunshined away. As I promised, he's yours again, spoke Jiraiya as he met up with Kakashi somewhere in Konoha. I fear Akatsuki will soon make their move. It's been 3 years now and it won't be long before they make their move. So you think they'll make a move on Naruto soon? Asked Kakashi. Most certainly. And the other Jinchuriki, said Jiraiya. Speaking of Jinchuriki, Han, are the rumors true? Did he K Han? Asked an intrigued Kakashi. He didn't K Han, though he did defeat him, said Jiraiya. We being hunted by Iwa and we fled. To me, the three Anbu weren't much of a threat, but throw Han into the mix and I would have been hard pressed. However, I feel I still could have won that battle if I pulled out all the stops. But Naruto was present, said Kakashi. Yeah, I doubt I would have been able to keep tabs on all of them, and that turned out to be the case. Han got through to Naruto while I was busy with the Iwa Anbu, explained Jiraiya. But you said Naruto defeated Han, said Kakashi. And doesn't Han supposedly have control over the Biju inside of him? He did, and yes, Han can control a full Biju transformation into the Gobi, said Jiraiya. But then Naruto, gasped Kakashi. Han's not the only one who can control a full Biju transformation, said Jiraiya. Kakashi just stood there, taking in what exactly Jiraiya had said. Before walking off, Jiraiya gave Kakashi one last piece of advice. Don't underestimate him tomorrow. It may be just a test, but if you don't fight him with the intent to K, you won't even stand a chance, warned Jiraiya. And add Sasuke and Sakura into the mix. Are you certain you can take all three of them if even Naruto might be too much for you? Kakashi stood there, thinking. Perhaps Master Jiraiya is right. Even Sasuke has proven to be a tough match, and if Naruto's advanced as far as I think, Kakashi's thoughts were interrupted as he was greeted by spandex. Accompanying the spandex was a rather large blade that wanted Kakashi's head. Kakashi, growled Zabuza. You left me alone for 3 years with him. Do you have any idea of how many of his stupid rival challenges I've had to endure? Yosh. Now that Kakashi has returned, we can certainly see who has grown more over the years. Exclaimed Guy. Not again, whimpered Zabuza. Kakashi simply ignored Guy's proclamation and returned to his thoughts. I wonder. So Kakashi, what do you say? Will today be your lucky day, or will Konoha's noble Greebeast go to 53-52 against the fabled Sharingan Kakashi? Exclaimed Guy. Oh Guy, did you say something? Yawned Kakashi as he collectively wiped his ear. Guy S. Once again Kakashi, your hipness knows no bounds. Sooner, Gaara, the Kazekage, and his council were assembled in Suna's council chambers, some very interesting news having reached their ears. Our village's power has finally stabilized and we maintain good relations with all of our allies. From the curriculum changes to our training program we brought in from Konoha, I look forward to seeing the results in the upcoming Chunin exams, spoke one of the council members. This close to the Chunin exams, there's been a bad rumor, spoke another council man. Bad rumor? Well, what is it, Yura? Asked a third council member. Jiraiya of the legendary Sannin has updated our information regarding an organization called Akatsuki. He believes they are preparing to move on the Jinchuriki throughout the world, which means, Yura looked over towards Gaara. That Kazekage Sama could very much be in danger. Nonsense, our Kazekage is stronger than ever, boasted one of the council members. Still, I believe these individuals shouldn't be underestimated, advised Yura. According to Jiraiya Sama, 2 known members of Akatsuki are Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame. This sent whispers throughout the room. Both Itachi and Kisame were infamous as S-rank criminals throughout the shinobi world. Yura then interrupted the side conversations. I have also heard rumors that Orochimaru himself was once a member of this organization, the same man responsible for the death of our previous Kazekage. Gaara took this information and processed it. He remembered the time back during the Chunin exams in Kumo when Naruto had also mentioned this Akatsuki and warned the rest of the Jinchuriki present about them. Finally, after some more side conversing, Gaara spoke, putting an end to those conversations. I acknowledge that this Akatsuki organization is a serious potential threat, not only to our own village, but also our allies. Still, I am Kazekage and I will do what must be done to keep this village safe. Yura smiled at the resolve of his Kazekage, but zoned out for a slight moment as something else came upon his mind. Outside Suna, 2 cloaked figures strode through the desert towards the entrance to the pass leading to Suna. So, the ones Orochimaru manipulated are ahead, yeah, spoke the taller of the figures. It seems for some reason, he leaked our information and turned traitor. We don't have a choice it seems. I don't know what he's like after using that jutsu either, said the shorter figure before looking over at the bag his partner was carrying. Is it alright with just that bag? Our opponent uses the powers of a Jinchuriki. My jutsus are all artistic, so I came with my favorite, number 18. After all, our opponent is the Ichibi, replied the taller figure as he reached into his bag and pulled out a lump of clay before the mouths on his hand ingested the clay and began chewing. As the two figures approached the cliffs that hid Suna, they instantly drew the attention of the guards. Captain Yura. Red clouds on black cloaks approaching. It must be them, called out one of the guards. Don't worry, it'll all be over soon, said Yura. The following morning, Konoha, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura arrived at the nostalgic site of Training Ground 7, the very place where they became genin. It sure has been a while, hasn't it? Smiled Naruto as he looked at the training post, the image of him being tied to it coming back. There's no way Kakashi-sensei's gonna beat me this time around. So how long do you think we'll be waiting for Kakashi-sensei this time around? Asked Sakura. Considering it's almost 10 now, I'd say he should be showing shortly, replied Sasuke. Am I really getting that predictable? Called out Kakashi as he appeared on top of one of the training posts. I think you three know the deal. Kakashi held out 2 bells and earned a smirk from his students. However, he reached back into his pouch and pulled out 4 more bells, throwing 3 of the 6 to Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke. I thought about it, and if what I've heard is correct, I realized that I would need something different to oppose the 3 of you. You all seem much stronger, so I altered the typical test slightly to provide more of a challenge. What do you mean altered? Asked Sakura. Wait, if we are each getting a bell and you have 3 more, then. I see you've already figured out my adjustment, said Kakashi. You're right, I won't be your only opponent. Kakashi tied 1 bell to his belt and gave the other 2 bells a toss to the empty space on either side of him. However, the bells were quickly caught as 2 figures, Kakashi's team, appeared at Kakashi's side. Now that's more like it, smirked Sasuke. Alright, bring it on your guys, Tabayo. Sakura decided to remain quiet, but voiced her anticipation with the sound of cracking knuckles. Jutsu. Hyoten. Sub-Zero Entrapment. An attack where Haku injects his ice chakra into something that instantly chills the water within it to sub-zero temperatures, instantly freezing it. Rank A. Uses Haku. Kaiten. Two-headed Hellhound. A collaborative attack between Kiba and Akamaru where they transform into a 2-headed flaming dog. This transformation increases the ferocity and speed of their attacks. Rank A. Uses Kibout Ofakamaru. Kaiten. Hellhound Fangs. An attack that Kiba and Akamaru use while in their Hellhound form. It's similar to the Suga but incorporates the scorching power of fire to their already ferocious attack, shredding and charring most opponents. A direct hit by this attack will more than likely result in death. Rank A. Uses Kibout Ofakamaru. Mokuton. Tree-bind Eternal Burial. Rank A. Uses Yamato. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.